Story 1. I'm Brian, 30 years old, originally from Pittsburgh, but I've been living in Cincinnati the last 5 years. What happened to me was, I don't know. I don't know if it was even real, but it felt real. It still feels real, and I haven't been able to shake it. This was back in March. I had just finished a conference in Denver, and I was flying back east. Weather delays threw everything off, and my flight home got rerouted through O'Hare with a stupid long layover. I think it was supposed to be 3 hours, but with the delays and whatever, it turned into nearly 8. Overnight, like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. One of those stretches that feels endless. I thought about getting a hotel, but everything nearby was either fully booked or insanely overpriced. So I stayed. Just found a gate that was mostly empty, K15 or something, and stretched out on the row of seats. I had my backpack under my legs and my hoodie pulled up. I figured I'd try to sleep for a couple hours. It was quiet, weirdly quiet for O'Hare. Usually, there's always someone walking past, some kind of noise in the background. But this terminal felt dead. Lights were dimmed, like on power save mode or something. Vending machines buzzed now and then, and every so often, the PA would blip and cut off before saying anything. I think I must have dozed off, but not all the way. It was that weird in-between sleep. I kept hearing rolling wheels echo, like suitcase wheels on tile. But when I sat up to look, the corridor was always empty. The first time I really noticed something off was when I checked my phone. I don't remember falling asleep, but it was 1:37 a.m. when I looked. Battery was at 9%, which I swore was higher earlier. I tried to plug into the outlet under the seat, but it didn't work. I moved 2 rows down. Same thing. No power anywhere. I got up to walk around, stretch my legs, maybe find a working outlet, or just a snack. But as soon as I left the row, I had this feeling. Not dread exactly, but like I was being watched. I told myself I was just tired. Airports always make me feel off. Still, as I walked, I kept noticing things that didn't add up. The newsstand near gate K12, the lights were on, but no one inside. Magazines perfectly stacked, fridge humming, register screen glowing. But no cashier, no motion sensor beep when I stepped inside. Just nothing. I backed out, a little unsettled, and kept walking. A few gates down, I saw a janitor cart left in the middle of the hallway. Mop leaned against the wall. One of those big, yellow, wet floor signs laid flat, like someone knocked it over. I called out, "Hello?" just in case. My voice echoed weirdly, like it bounced down the hall and came back slower than it should have. I turned around and saw the arrival screen flickering. All flights delayed. No times listed. Just rows and rows of red letters. It looked like an error. Dot. But the date was right. The time was wrong, though. It said 4:18 a.m. My phone still said 2:02. By then, I was fully awake. Something was wrong. It wasn't just a bad vibe. It felt like the airport was glitching, or like I had slipped into a version of it that wasn't fully real. I walked faster. I figured I'd find one of those 24-hour cafes or a TSA checkpoint, any human presence at all. But everything was dark. And I mean dark. Like those areas didn't just have the lights off, they looked abandoned. Like no one had used them in weeks. Chairs stacked, tables pushed against walls. No garbage, not even crumbs. Like the place had been cleaned out. I circled back toward my gate. It had to be around 2:30 a.m. now, but when I got close, something changed. The chairs I was lying on, gone. The row was empty. No backpack, no hoodie, no phone charger, nothing. I literally stopped and rubbed my eyes like an idiot. I walked up and down the gate area, thinking maybe I was at the wrong row, but I recognized the trash can I had used earlier. Same scuff marks on the wall. It was my gate, just reset somehow. I started to panic. My first thought was someone robbed me. But there was no one. No cameras I could see. I ran toward the exit tunnel leading to baggage claim, but the doors were locked. Not just locked, like sealed. No keycard pad, no motion trigger, just dead glass. I turned and started calling out louder, even pounding on a gate agent's desk. Still, no answer. Then I heard that suitcase sound again, rolling wheels. I turned around. Nothing. But it was louder now. Closer. Coming from behind the corridor. Like someone circling me. Just out of view. That's when I saw something else. On the floor in front of gate K15, there was a folded piece of paper. Just one. White. Perfectly square. Like someone had slid it under the desk. I picked it up. No writing. Just a blank page. But as I held it, I realized my hands were shaking. The kind of shake you don't notice until you try to do something still. I stuffed it in my hoodie pocket, which wasn't my hoodie. It was gone, remember? But I was wearing it again, just like that. No idea when I put it back on. I backed away from the gate, slowly. Still no sound except the buzzing vending machines. I walked toward the window, trying to look outside. Couldn't see anything, just thick, layered fog, pressing against the glass like smoke underwater. I don't know how else to describe it. I stayed there, frozen, until the PA system crackled. Finally, a voice, but it wasn't clear, just static. Then one word, boarding. That was it. No gate, no flight number, just that word. And then silence again. A few seconds later, the lights at gate K19 flickered on. I had a choice. Go toward it or wait. I waited. I don't know why. I just had this gut feeling. Like if I walked through that gate, something irreversible would happen. I crouched behind the newsstand, hoodie pulled over my face, and stayed there for what felt like hours. No more suitcase sounds, no voices, just hums and flickers. Eventually, I passed out, I think, or blacked out. I woke up to someone shaking me, an airport cop. Morning light was pouring through the windows. People everywhere. Phones buzzing, announcements playing. The gate? Normal. My backpack? Next to me. No one believed me, of course. I didn't tell the cop everything, just said I got disoriented. But when I opened my bag, there was a single blank sheet of paper inside, folded in half, exactly the way I remembered. I haven't flown since. I take trains, drive when I can. It's been 4 months, and I still keep that paper in my glove compartment, just in case. Sometimes when I'm alone, I unfold it, hoping it'll say something, but it never does. Maybe that's the point. Story 2. I'm Tyler, 26, from Boise. Just moved to Atlanta last year. I do tech support. This happened 2 weeks ago at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson during a layover. And I know it sounds nuts. Even now, I'm not sure I believe it. I landed around 11 p.m., coming in from Dallas. My connecting flight home to Boise wasn't until 6 a.m., but I was exhausted and anxious to get home. So I decided to find a quiet corner in the Delta terminal, Gate A12. I set my carry-on at my feet, put my hoodie on, earbuds in, and tried to sleep sitting upright. The terminal was its usual late-night self, mostly quiet, but not deserted. You could hear occasional PA announcements, the hum of escalators, luggage wheels, people around, but not crowded. I was half asleep when I noticed something off. I thought I heard soft tapping, like a suitcase hitting the floor. But every time I looked up, no one was there near me. I chalked it up to fatigue and nudged the guy to my left, wearing a cap. He didn't budge. I tapped again, still nothing. Just me, alone. I told myself I must have dropped my phone, but the screen was black in my hand. An hour later, or at least what felt like an hour, it was past midnight. I tracked time by glancing at the gate screen. It flickered between updates for flights home, but the screen malfunctioned. Pixel lines, random flickers. Then it went blank for a few seconds. I sighed. Could have been a glitch. That's when I saw the silhouette. At the far end of the terminal, next to an unused gate, was a figure. Tall, hunched maybe, standing still. Not a passenger looking at their phone. Just there. I watched, my heart fluttering. Could have been a janitor waiting for the shift. But it wasn't uniformed. I nudged my bag closer, earbuds off. I watched the figure raise an arm, their hand pointing exactly at me. I froze, hand in my lap. I swear I felt their gaze, even from 20 yards away. I looked around. Security cameras mounted overhead. Escalators pumping no one through. The terminal felt emptier than before. I wondered if the figure was real. Maybe a reflection, trick of light, gone in a blink. I texted my mom. You awake? Feeling so weird in ATL. Layovers creepy. Talk later. No reply. My thumbs hovered over the phone, half expecting replies. But nothing, and no way to get service. My seat was facing the figure, so I turned around, acting like I was stretching. Nobody else looked concerned. They all slept or stared at screens. That's when I heard the soft scuff, like shoes sliding on tile. The figure stepped forward. But the weird part, I couldn't tell if they had feet. The bottom half looked fuzzy, blurry, like the camera's focus was off. A PA announcement crackled. Flight DL 5296, boarding, final call. My stomach dropped. My flight, home, but I couldn't move. The figure didn't respond, just stayed. I finally pushed up, grabbed my bag, heart thumping, and walked toward the gate. As I passed by the place where the figure sat, I peeked. No one. Empty chair. I looked left and right. Nothing. I made my way to the gate, punching the seat as I passed in case someone was sitting there. Gate agent looked at my boarding pass. No sign of anxiety. People around me shuffled on. I took a seat, tried to steady breathing. Brain buzzing. It was just stress. Didn't see anything. The minutes ticked. I boarded the plane. The captain came on. I tried to text my flake buddy, crazy layover, and pockets out my phone, but the battery died. Literally went from 63 to dead in seconds. I tried plugging into the USB port under the seat. Nothing. We took off. Lights went out. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. When we landed in Boise, around 8 a.m., I was shaky. Got my bag, headed home. My apartment door closed behind me, and I let out a long sigh. Later, I checked airport images online. It was 1:12 a.m. during all of this. I matched the time between Flickr and boarding. But when I looked at the Delta terminal layout, the distant, unused gate, the one I saw the figure at, was demolished last fall. They tore it down. It doesn't exist anymore. I thought maybe I was wrong about which gate, but I took a screenshot of the boarding area before I left. It showed A12 behind me and the aisle I walked, but there's no branch off to that abandoned gate. Yet, I saw the sign. I saw the figure there. I can't explain the blurry bottom half, or the pointing, or the phone dying instantly. And look, I know it sounds nuts. Maybe I dreamed it, half slept, but I remember the lights swinging, that flicker that started it, and that figure looking like smoke and threads, and how calm everything else felt, like the terminal was frozen around me. I haven't disappeared or found missing people or anything, but I can't fly through ATL at night now. I chicken out when they call boarding. I sit wide awake, eyes darting. Sometimes, late at night, I replay the figure raising its arm. I get that itch in my collarbone, that feeling of being chosen. I thought maybe it was trying to warn me, like, don't get on that flight. But I did. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Maybe I misread the signs, but if I did, why did my phone die the second I looked? And why can't the airport find records of that terminal segment existing? I'm not angry. I'm just rattled. Maybe it was sleep deprivation. Maybe me. Maybe something else. I still keep my boarding pass. Margin notes scribbled. don't blink. I can't throw it. And I avoid ATL at night. If anyone asks me about this, I don't think I'll dare say I saw that, but I'll stick to the terminal felt off and hope that's enough, because the figure, that thing, was real to me, and I'm not sure how to live with that. Story 3. I'm Kevin, 35. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. This happened 2 years ago, I think. Maybe longer. I only remember because it was around Thanksgiving, and I was flying back from Newark to Phoenix. It wasn't a normal trip. My dad had just died. Heart failure. He collapsed while raking leaves. My sister found him. That's not the story, though. I wasn't in a good headspace. I mention that because maybe what happened was grief. Maybe I imagined it, but it didn't feel like that. So I was at Newark Airport, late evening. Terminal A. My flight was delayed 2 hours. Storms out west. I remember that part clearly. People were spread out, waiting. Some on the floor. That awful airport lighting everywhere, buzzing just a little. I wasn't really paying attention to anything, just scrolling, trying to not think. You know how airports already feel weirdly disconnected from reality. That night was worse. Like everything was one step off. I went to use the bathroom. That's when it started. I walked past a gate that was empty. Not abandoned, but just no one was there. No staff, no passengers. But the monitors were on. Gate 36. I remember because my gate was 32, and I thought maybe I'd check if I could move to an earlier flight. But the screen at 36, it didn't say a city or airline. It just said boarding. Nothing else. All caps. No flight number. I stopped, looked around. No one. Just that blue glow from the monitor. The gate was totally quiet. No dinging chimes, no announcements, no one behind the desk, no jet bridge connected. And I swear, when I stepped closer, the screen flickered, just for a second, like it was about to change. But it didn't. I figured it was a glitch or something, but it creeped me out enough I left quick. Back to gate 32, but now people were gone. Like, actually gone. Not just wandered off. The seats were empty. Bags left behind. Coffee cups. One lady's coat was still on her chair. I looked around like, did they board? But the monitor at my gate still said delayed. Same time, same flight number. It hadn't moved. I stood there, confused. No announcement, no line at the counter. Then I turned and saw the guy behind the podium, just standing there. I swear he wasn't there a second ago. Bald, thin, no badge, just a gray suit. Didn't look up at me. I said, "Hey, did boarding start for flight 203? He didn't answer. I repeated it. He just stood there, looking down at something. A clipboard, maybe. I started to walk around the counter to look, but he finally looked up. No expression. Not angry or confused. Just blank. and he said, "Gate 36. That's it. Just those 2 words, in this weird, flat voice. I was like, what? He didn't say it again. He just looked back down. I didn't go to Gate 36. Not right then. I left that terminal entirely. Walked all the way back to security. No one stopped me. No one seemed to notice I was panicking. I didn't say anything either. I just sat near a Hudson News and waited there instead. Eventually, they called my name on the intercom. Final boarding for Flight 203. I went back. The gate was full again. Like, full. People in line. Agent scanning tickets. Like it had never been empty. Same bald guy was gone. I boarded. Sat next to some teenager who played Minecraft the whole flight. I tried to forget it. Except I didn't forget it. Because about a week later, I checked my email to pull up my receipt. And there was another confirmation. For a flight I never took. It was for Flight 000, Gate 36, Newark to no destination listed. Departure 12:12 a.m. Seat 1A. I called the airline. They had no record of it. Not even the gate existing that late. Said maybe it was a phishing thing. I'd believe that, maybe, if not for what happened last week. I flew out of JFK this time. Totally different airline. I'd actually mostly forgotten about Newark by then. I was coming back from a work thing. Late flight again. Walked past an empty gate. Gate 36. Same monitor. Same glowing word. Boarding. No one around. Except this time, there was a woman standing just behind the glass, where the jet bridge would be, in shadow. And when I stepped closer, I swear to God, she waved at me. Slow, deliberate, but her eyes didn't move, just the hand. I left immediately. I haven't told anyone. I know this sounds crazy. Maybe I'm misremembering the number. Maybe it's just some weird programming error with the monitors. Maybe that woman was just a reflection. But something about it doesn't feel accidental. Like I was almost pulled into something. That ticket, it still shows up in my app history, even after reinstalling. Always there. Flight 000, Gate 36. No destination. Sometimes I dream I'm walking down that jet bridge, alone, the lights above flickering. But I never reach the plane. I don't think there is one.